Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the General Government Committee. We're going to be calling this meeting into order. The time is now 5:09, and this is a meeting of the General Government Subcommittee. Today, we have here in the chambers, Councilor Delgado. Welcome, Councilor Delgado, and
Mr. Chair.
who's going to be introducing the agenda item shortly. We also have Human Relations HR Director Bill Mahoney. Good afternoon, Director. Thank you for joining us. And remotely, we're being joined by City Councilor Tracy Whitfield. And we're going to be joined shortly by Councilor Tim Allen, who's on his way up. Also, we are joined by Xiomara Van, with my glasses, Xiomara De Lavato. And thank you for joining us, Xiomara. All right, so today's agenda is going to be continued discussion on continued discussion on skill-based hiring. And I'm going to turn it over to, before I turn it over to Councilor Delgado, just to let the people know that this is an ordinance, Chapter 73 of the revised ordinance of the City of Springfield. Our title, skill-based hiring practices. We passed first step yesterday in the City Council, and this is going to be going today for airing out and review, and then it should be going back into the City Council next week, which is what day is that?
Monday the 9th.
Monday the 9th. That should be going on Monday the 9th for final passage. With that being said, Councilor Delgado, floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Chair Davila. I want to thank everybody who's come in, and thank you, Bill Mahoney. This is something that we've been working on now for a few months now. We've had the general government meeting before. I was thankful to my colleagues on the council for unanimously voting this in yesterday. And so as a part of the rule, after the first step has to go back to the general government. So what we have here is an ordinance. There's a skills-based hiring ordinance. It's an ordinance that's modeled after, really modeled a lot after what Governor Healy did in her executive order to the executive office jobs. And so what we're looking essentially to do here is to, establish kind of a citywide policy around promoting skills-based hiring practices for city jobs and allowing city departments, particularly through the direction of the Personnel and Labor Relations Department, to look at the different job descriptions and determining what descriptions would require a degree and which ones would not. It also in there talks about training for hiring managers in order to kind of more align with kind of more modern, practices. And, I will say that through the leadership of Bill Mahoney and his team, they've been doing a lot of work there already. So this ordinance, in my opinion, just kind of helps to strengthen the work that they're already doing. Mm-hmm. And so, what I'm essentially asking for folks is to support this so that we can open up opportunities for folks who historically may have been left out because of a minimum of a degree requirement. There are folks today that, have years of experience. There are folks that get experience through military service. They're getting certifications, they're getting credentials. And so what I'm simply saying here is, let's not automatically cut somebody out of a potential interview because, solely based off of the fact that they're missing the degree. Let's look at the totality of the breadth of their experience, their expertise and knowledge that they bring to the table. And I want to make clear that this is, I myself am a first-generation college student. I have a bachelor's degree. I have a master's degree. And so college education was something that's helped my life, and it's helped a lot of folks, to upward trajectory. But today you're not seeing as many people kind of able to take that avenue. Not everybody's going to go to college, right? And so so one of the things we want to make sure that we do is that we open up the doors for people who have relevant experience, who are capable of doing the job, and if they interview and somebody with a degree interviews who has the experience and has the necessary competencies for the job, then the best person who interviews should get that job. That's how I see it. Yesterday I read a support letter. I'm not going to repeat the whole thing, but this came from Nicole Polite, who's the CEO of MH Group Staffing Firm. And she was pretty much writing a letter of support around skills-based hiring. And, in her kind of explanation that, degrees and certifications remain critical and specialized in technical professions such as actuary, accounting, engineering, law, and many other ones. But there are many non-technical roles, including positions in admin operations, customer service, sales, that are often driven by real-world experience. And she did put in the data here, 62% of working age adults in the US do not hold a bachelor's degree.
25?
62%.
62%, oh wow. That's pretty high.
In the city of Springfield, she referenced 21.3% of adults that are age 25 or older hold a bachelor's degree, so it's lower. And so I just want to make sure that we open up opportunities and for folks to be able to interview for jobs. And I also want to make sure I highlight that in the city of Springfield, we have a number of fabulous learning institutions, both within higher ed and other alternative routes. And so I want to make sure that folks get this clear. This is not about lessening the need of a degree, but more so open the doors for folks to be able to get in.
Right.
And to be able to show what they can do. So,
Excellent.
and with that, happy to answer any questions that anybody may have.
Thank you. Sure. Any questions from the councilors? Councilor Whitfield?
Hey, thank you, Councilor Davila. So I'm not opposed to the skills-based learning. And I just did want to, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, echo what Councilor Delgado said about having a degree. Like, people do work hard for them. We worked hard and we had a lot to go through. So I don't want to discredit the hard work of those who did go back to school, plus raising families. What we did, but also there are opportunities within the city. I think that skills-based learning will satisfy. I just am looking for the process. So I'm more about process than just passing something just to pass it. And so I'm looking for, has there been discussion on how that will work? Are we looking at what jobs would qualify for the waiver? I'm just going to use waiver of the degree, or can use like skills-based learning, skills and the degree requirement. Have we had any of those discussions? I also don't think it should be effective immediately. I think it needs to be flushed out. I think that was said yesterday. I don't think anything that drops should be effective immediately without consideration of how the process is going to work. And so I'm more curious about the process than I do support the ordinance, but I'm more curious about the process.
I mean, I'll let Bill jump on that. I do want to say that in terms of the effective immediately, all that really is instituting is authorizing the personnel and labor relations to start looking at these job descriptions, which I'm sure they've already been doing before. So, in terms of the effective immediate, I wouldn't get too thrown off about that, because all it's doing is authorizing them to look at that, to look at the job descriptions. But Bill,
I do think that all ordinances that pass are effective immediately, but I didn't know if you meant start hiring these skills-based people immediately.
No, that's
Okay.
not what it's meant by that.
Okay.
I would like to, before we go on, I would like to acknowledge Councilor Tim Allen has joined us remotely. Good afternoon, Councilor Allen.
So Bill,
Getting off of the zone.
Oh, he's right here. Okay, I guess Councilor Allen is going to be transitioning shortly in person. Councilor Whitfield, you have any other question?
well, that one didn't get answered yet, so,
Okay. Bill.
yeah.
So just to kind of, there's about 1,550 or so employees. And they were about 573 different classifications, job titles. Of that group, the percentage or the number requiring degrees is 237. So it's about 41% of our job classifications require a degree. So about 59% already don't require a degree. Of the
Okay.
41% that require a degree, 24% of those have the or experience language. So a bachelor's degree or 5 years of experience, or bachelor's degree or associate's degree or 3 years of experience. So we have some of that already, just to, again, set the conversation up here. The way the ordinance is written, Counselor Whitfield, it would not be that we are going to go into all of those job classifications that don't have it and start rewriting all of those. It's when the way I understand the ordinance, it's for when classifications are issued or updated after the effective date, then we're gonna start looking at it. So we will go into it as the department head contacts us and says, I have this new job that we're going to be putting together. We're gonna look at that point and determine whether or not we need to have a bachelor's degree, associate's degree, a master's degree, or a law degree for a job. And we know we're gonna look at that carefully. So it's not just gonna be doing a wholesale of every job in the city organization that doesn't currently have, or that does currently have a degree requirement. We're gonna look at them as they come in one at a time.
So I'm thinking that the ordinance is suggesting that, so 59% of the jobs already don't require a degree, and I'm thinking those are on more of the lower entry level.
Well, you might be surprised. For instance, you'll recall that I said we have about 1,550 employees at the time that I ran the census, or my staff ran the census for me. But when you take all of the folks that are in sworn positions in police and fire, and then the employees in the UFCW, the 3065 and SOL, together, that's about 60% of our workforce. We don't have a requirement for an education requirement. So if a police officer, even as far as being a captain goes, there's no education requirement for it. Now, with that being said, most of them are getting degrees, particularly for the supervisors. There's an education incentive built into their contracts. Same thing with the fire department. You come in and, we bring you in with a high school diploma, and you can promote up. But I think you're more competitive as you promote up if you have, a greater education, but it's not required.
So, but they do have to take like civil service exams and things like that.
You're absolutely right. So there's an entry-level exam for both police and fire, and then there are promotional exams all along the way.
Okay. So they do have to take some type of school requirement. What are the jobs? Well, if you can give me a brief sampling of the jobs that require degrees that we may be able to look at that could qualify for skill-based hiring?
I'm really not prepared to answer that question tonight. To be very candid with you, I haven't spent any time with, going through our classification plans to see what we could pull out that currently has one. The other
Okay.
piece, just to follow up on that, if I may, remember, we are a heavily organized
Right.
employer. So when I'm changing job descriptions, I'm, in a bargaining unit, I'm gonna be talking with the bargaining agent on that.
Right. So like for inspectors is in housing and code, those are bargaining employees? Are they?
Yes, they are. They're in the UPSCU unit.
So, because I looked at some of their job descriptions and they like required an associates on some levels and things like that. Is that part of the bargaining agreement, is what you're saying, Bill?
So we had done a study years ago where we rewrote every job description in city government.
Mm-hmm.
A ton of work on it, and we sent all of them out to the different bargaining units and said, do you want to bargain these with us? Because we're here, we're going to make these changes, but we're giving the opportunity to bargain these with them. So all that stuff had gone out. Those jobs had all gone to the union at the time before we adopted them.
Okay. Well, it's good to know that it's not effective immediately, that people just are getting hired based on skill set, and that you're taking a active approach and look at the jobs. But to my understanding, just to reiterate what you said, you won't really look at job descriptions until department heads want to hire or fill those positions.
We'll look at them when there is a new position or when the department heads are saying, look, this is just not working the way this is worded. We want you to take another look at this job description, which we do. So these come in at times and we'll look at them and we'll regrade positions. And then we'll send it back to the departments and make sure they're okay with it. It's a collaborative process. And then, as I said, if it's a bargaining unit, I'll negotiate that with the representative for the bargaining unit.
Okay, well, thank you for the clarification, because I just want to make sure that department heads aren't rewriting job descriptions to meet the needs of maybe an employee that they do want to see promoted into a job, but may not have all of the requirements. I just want to make sure it's a fair and equitable process.
Sure.
And from what you're describing, it sounds like it will be.
Yep.
Thank
That's the
you.
plan.
Very well. Council Allen, any questions?
No question.
No, okay. Council Legato?
No question of mine.
If I can just add, there was one typo identified in the proposed ordinance you may want to clean up, and that's on page 2, section A, second line. There's a stray word "and" in there. You may want to take that out.
Can you point out exactly where you talk?
Page 2,
Yeah,
under purpose,
Yeah.
the second line, there it reads encourage and all city. It should just be encourage all city departments. I would take the word "and" out of there.
sorry, stakeholders. Also, and, okay, encourage,
Take the word.
and, so between encourage and all.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Good catch.
Okay. Very well. And, okay. I just have a quick follow-up question. So you said about 48%, if I heard you correctly, of all positions in the city require some sort of a degree, correct?
For the classifications right now, we have 573. The number requiring degrees are 41%.
41%.
So 59% do not of the classifications. Those are the titles. They don't require a degree.
And I think out of those 41, 24% have all of that or experience.
So 24% of that 41, so a quarter of that is bachelor's degree or 5 years of experience, associate's degree or 2 years of experience. So we have that in there already. So it's really kind of a smaller number that we do.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just want to make it 41% don't require some sort a degree.
41% require a degree,
Yeah.
but a quarter of those jobs, 24%,
Uh-huh.
have the "or" language. So a degree or so many years of experience. And then about 59% have no education requirement.
Language or degree. Or experience.
I did have a question.
Go ahead,
Bill, I don't know if you keep a track of this number of how many employees that come in and then attain degrees after in terms of continuing their education. I was just curious.
I can't say that we do. We certainly have employees that do that. Particularly, we have free community college now, and we have education incentives built into both police and fire contracts. So, I mean, everyone who doesn't have a degree should be taking advantage of that program, at least in my opinion. You're
Okay.
getting the associate's degree for free. I mean, you're going to improve the compensation for you and your family, and you're going to have, you'll have an associate's degree and hopefully decide to go on from there. But I can't say that we track it.
Okay, no, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Bill, yesterday was brought up during the meeting, the city does pay for people to go to school and get the degree.
I think there was a question about that. No, what we do is we have, and I think it's still there. I don't know if it's still, I'd have to go back and look, but we had a program with Springfield College where they were doing a grant to city employees to go for the bachelor's and the master's degree. They were making a contribution towards the tuition. We had a partnership with them on that. I don't know sitting here right now if it's still in existence or not.
Okay, I personally would like to know, because that sounds definitely like a win-win for everybody. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm sure once they go get a degree, there's a salary adjustment, once they state that they get the.
Depends on the position. So if it's in police or fire, yes.
Mhm.
But if it was, someone else, probably not.
Why not?
It's a creature of collective bargaining. So historically, and I'll take you down the labor relations history route if you'd like to go there. But I think it was back in the 1980s thereabouts, there was a thing called the Quinn Bill.
Yes.
And that was for police.
Right.
Then fire through collective bargaining had a different version of an education benefit. And then, of course, the Quinn Bill has changed, and it was, they've shrunk the group. I think, I forget what year that happened, 2009 perhaps. And now there's a different education incentive. So it's a creature of collective bargaining.
So, but for those people that are not in collective bargaining, that do go on, enhance their education, is there room for them to get a salary adjustment?
Only if they were promoted into another position.
I think that's what I was, yeah. So, yeah, so.
It's gonna make you more competitive, so, and we see that, we have people that start with us as a paralegal and they finish law school, or then they become a lawyer for us.
But if they do transfer to another position, they still start the probation period all over again.
And they would have a probationary period, yes.
Okay, very well. Okay. Councilor, any other councilor has a question, comments?
I had a question on the Springfield College thing. Do you know if it took place? I mean,
It did take
did
place.
some people take advantage of it?
Yeah, it took place, and I know we renewed it at one point, because I remember seeing the contract. I just haven't had a chance to look before this meeting to see, where it is, because we had it on our intranet, and we said, here's a grant program. It may still be in place. It just, time kind of passes for me, and I don't remember.
Well, since I teach there, I just was curious about, working here and teaching there. I had heard about it, but I never became aware of anybody using it.
Yeah, it was in our intranet for a while there, yes.
Definitely be a good attractive tool for hiring.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Xiomara, do you have a question, ma'am? Anything you would like to add?
Thank you, Councilor Davila. So I'm just here as a resident, but also as a business and community leader. And I wanted to tune in because I knew that this was a discussion that was happening at the full meeting. And I'm coming at this, and just for the record, I'm Tumara Bandobato, Vice President, Chief of Staff with the Western Massachusetts Economic Development Council, representing the Western Massachusetts region, primarily Hampden, Hampshire, and Franklin County. And I'm just here to really truly stress the importance of supporting this ordinance for the city, and aligns with what Governor Healy has already signed off for the state. From an economic development perspective, it is so critical that we remain competitive as a municipality and as a region, with a lot of industry catalyzation that's happening. I'll talk about quantum, I'll mention food science, and all of these other industrial types of industry development that is picking up incredible momentum, that is focused on skilled training. And many that only require certifications, some that only require an associate's degree, and bring incredible value to the city. So just being in line with that type of development, it truly does open opportunity for employment. At the EDC, we adopted that, the hiring process, once the governor did right off that, the executive order. So as we have been hiring as an organization, we keep skill-based hiring as a primary focus, where degrees are not removed at all, right, from any job. We just quite literally widen the net of talent, because you could have someone with decades of experience that brings skills that are needed in a specific position versus, I don't know, another candidate. So it is case by case. But in this specific instance, I truly here to support this, and I hope that the council continues to support and adopt skill-based hiring and just add that to the portfolio of how folks are being recruited, how they're being retained, and really, encouraging this type of engagement from the workforce. Because as Councilor Delgado said, Springfield, only 21% of adults 25 and older have a bachelor's. In Hampden County, it's less than 30%. It's like 28% of Hampden County residents have a bachelor's or higher. Don't have a bachelor's or higher. So we're talking a majority skill-based workforce. And I think in order to keep engaging our workers in that prime age of 25 to 52, we have to really make sure that we're being inclusive with that. So thank you for giving the time. And
Thank you. Go ahead. Thank you, Xiomara, for your comments. Anything else? Very well. I just would like to say before we close that, at least for me, one thing that I like about this ordinance, as I stated yesterday in the chambers, is that oftentimes we hear the department heads talking that we don't have enough applicants. The way I look at this is going to be opening or possibly expanding the job applicant pool, in which we need so desperately here in the city of Springfield. And so I think it's a good thing, and my compliments to you again, Councilor Delgado. So I guess I will be looking for two motions. The first one will be to delete, as suggested by Director Mahoney, the technical typo, I guess, right? Sure. Could you restate that? Did you hear the Councilor Allen? Can you restate that?
Sure. My recommendation is that you delete the word "and" from the section A on page 2, second line, the first "and" in that second line.
I make a motion to delete that as Bill specified.
Very well, I second that. All in favor?
All in favor, say aye. Yeah, I'm
I'm in
in favor,
favor.
yeah.
That passes, okay. So the second motion will be looking for a motion to bring this up to the city council for next week for final passage for the ordinance to be ordained.
I make a motion that this leave the committee process with an affirmative vote and go on to the full council for next Monday.
Very well, I second that motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Very well, we're gonna be passing out to the council next week, which is, I gotta look at my calendar for those that are watching,
Aye.
is gonna be the 9th at 7 o'clock for second and final passage. With that being said, anything else? Yep, okay, and well, the time is now 5:35. I'm adjourning the meeting at 5:35, and thank you, everybody. Have a good day, and God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.